So how's everybody feeling, by the way? Plus or minus 3 dB? We just covered that off. Neil was well known as an educator and as an innovator in the world of audio. I'm going to read a bit off the paper here, don't mind me. And his early days of building recording consoles, his teaching at Eastman and Harris in Toronto here, all testament enough to his background as an educator. But mostly to me, Neil was an old school electronics guy. He was somebody you could talk to about electronics. I consider myself an old school electronics guy. And I always felt that I could talk to Neil about anything and never have to explain a word. He got it. And by and large, he'd already been there before I even thought of it. So it was really quite refreshing to work with him on things like that. His workshop, I loved his workshop. It was a real treasure trove. You would wander around and you go, "Hey, Neil, what's this?" And you look over and say, "Oh, those are the vacuum tube electronics from an Ampex 350. Like, how many basements can you go into? And somebody has their vacuum tube electronics from an Ampex 350. And he had the rest of the tape machine somewhere, too. On the shelves, there were TEF analyzers and all kinds of exotic test gear of one kind or another. And he even had some of the preamp cards from his original consoles. I remember him showing me those, which was really kind of interesting. His workshop wasn't a museum by any stretch of the imagination, even though it had the old Ampex stuff. I can remember going over there and looking at an experiment spread across the table, excuse me, and there was a cable run from one box of electronics to the other, and part the way there, it made one loop around a transformer, and the primary of that transformer was connected to the output of an amplifier, and there was a signal generator on the input of that amplifier. And what he was doing was seeing just how balanced cables actually were. It's just so cool. And he actually found some that were not quite as balanced as we thought they were. He did the most amazing stuff. It was actually, part of the development of his Pin 1 work, I think, when I first saw that. Everything he did I thought was interesting and very right. It was always satisfying to see the work that he did, and as mentioned before, he could explain anything, and he nailed it every time. I still work to keep the younger folks at work on the straight and narrow when it comes to grounding, and I often refer them back to what Neil had written about. He'd worked on some interesting stuff in terms of music recording. He had a very interesting music collection. He had a lot of gems in there. And I remember going over one evening. He knew that I was interested in guitar. I'm a bit of a guitar player, just a bit. And he pulled out a vinyl recording and put it on. And it was obviously Wes Montgomery who was playing. And anyone who's a guitar aficionado who knows who Wes Montgomery is. And it turned out that this was an early vinyl MP of the Montgomery brothers, which was all the brothers of the family playing on one band. And he gave me the album cover and said, "Here, read the liner notes." And I read the liner notes, and it was Montgomery waxing lyrical about this great new instrument he was just trying out for the first time. And what he was playing was a Fender Precision bass for the first time. Neil was so cool. He just nailed that stuff. So, where else could you go? And you could check out this cool workshop with interesting things happening. You could go upstairs, you could have a meal that was worth writing home about, and a jazz history lesson all in the same place, all in the same evening. So, thanks, Neil. And like that.